The Hawks just gave Dwight Howard to the Hornets for Miles Plumlee, Marco Bellinelli, and a draft pick? Oh, what is going on?
You got Brook Lopez? What's that? Who want that? I didn't even know he was on the trading block.
You think 7'3" Latvian basketball players, they just grow on trees? You're never gonna be able to replace Kristaps Porzingis. It's the one thing that you've done right, Phil Jackson. One!
Wherever LeBron goes next year, if he stays in Cleveland, I don't know. I don't care. Wherever he goes, that's my new team.
Well, Lonzo, you got the keys to the Lakers now.
Man, just thinking about it, oh, I don't want to think about this anymore.
Fans taking their pain online, letting their voices be heard after a chaotic and exciting day in the NBA. Hey there, welcome to SI Now. It is Wednesday, June 21st, and I'm Maggie Gray. If you are watching on Facebook Live, well, welcome. Coming up later in the show, Kentucky shooting guard Malik Monk will join us in our studio. Also, MMA fighter Chael Sonnen takes aim at the sport of boxing in advance of the Mayweather-McGregor bout. You're not going to want to miss that. But first, the NBA, where news was flying in from all corners of the country. Rohan Nadkarni of the Crossovers here, along with Jake Fischer, SI NBA reporter. Let's discuss it all, guys. The Lakers and Nets, you heard some fans there, not very happy. Reportedly, a trade made on Tuesday. Deangelo Russell heading to Brooklyn, along with Timofey Mozgov for Brook Lopez and a late first-round pick. It's clearly a salary dump for the Lakers. They're paving the way to sign more superstars. But were you surprised, Rohan, that Deangelo Russell did not get more assets in a trade?
I'm a little bit surprised just purely in terms of him as a player, right? I mean, the former #2 overall pick.
Yeah.
You look at kind of his development, how it's been stunted in LA, first year under Byron Scott in the Kobe sideshow. Last year, he didn't kind of maybe take the steps that you wanted to see, but I think he's a talented player. I think Jake will probably be able to speak to this more, though. I think the Lakers probably tried all they could to get as much value for him. It sounds like they were kind of in an awkward spot of most people expect them to take Lonzo, and that kind of plummeted Russell's value. So just in terms of what he is as a player, I was a little surprised, but I think situationally they were kind of hurt by where they are in this draft.
Okay, so talk to us about Lonzo. You spent some time with his camp. Is it a given now that he is going to be the second overall pick by the Lakers?
If they have the pick, I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I don't want to guarantee it, but at this point, I would, if I had to put money on it, I would say it's Lonzo. They know that he's in the backyard. They need that star power. Also, if they're going to be getting these superstars like Paul George, like LeBron James, what better point guard with historic levels of vision and ability to push the ball and get it out in the up-tempo style that Luke Walton and Magic Johnson want to have? It makes the most sense, and they've had a lot of conversations with the Lakers. Obviously, he's worked out there twice. So at this juncture, I mean, I saw people with his camp last night at the Players Association. They're confident he's the pick at 2, as long as the Lakers don't deal that to the Pacers to move Paul George.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. How likely do you think it is, Rohan? Or would it be smart? Let's put it that way. Would it be smart for Magic and the Lakers to try to make this move for Paul George right now and not wait out the year before he becomes a free agent?
I mean, I personally think they should wait out, why part with any assets, right? I'm also surprised that if you're going to, make the trade for Paul George, you wouldn't keep Deangelo Russell in a move like that. Instead, try to trade the 27th overall pick that they got back from Brooklyn. So that's a little surprising to me. I think Los Angeles should wait. I understand, why they get nervous. Let's say Paul George goes to Cleveland. They have this great playoff run. Maybe he wants to stay there, but we haven't. It's not like this Paul George to LA rumor is just popping up, and we've heard this since the trade deadline. He's from Southern California. He seems very, very set on going back to Los Angeles at the least. So if I'm the Lakers, why give up any assets? I think they should wait out Paul George. I understand why they'd get nervous, but I think they need to wait it out.
Well, plus, Paul George is represented by CAA, who has Carmelo Anthony, and the last time they had a client like this was Carmelo, who they negotiated their way basically into New York and had the Knicks mortgage all their young assets that could have grown around Carmelo in Manhattan. And now the Knicks haven't made the playoffs in how long? And Carmelo's potentially on his way out. So the last time they were in this situation, they botched it.
Okay, so maybe learning from some past mistakes, the agents getting involved, as they always do. We know that. Meanwhile, Charlotte and Atlanta also made a trade on Tuesday. Dwight Howard going 245 miles north to the Hornets for Miles Plumlee, Marco Bellinelli. The Hornets then, they also swapped first-round picks. second-round picks. Let me get this all right. You see it there. You don't even need me to talk about it. But Dwight, he's been on 5 teams in the last 7 years. So, Jake, was it bigger for Atlanta to get rid of him, or was it bigger for Charlotte to bring him in?
That's a tough question. I think on its face, it will ultimately be Charlotte, because this move to me signals that the Hawks are fully prepared to rebuild and let Paul Millsap walk in free agency. Their new GM, Travis Schlenk, basically told reporters at an event recently that, they're prepared for a scenario where Paul Millsap walks. So they have the opportunity to give him the most money of anybody. That means they're not planning on giving him that. So if you can get up Dwight Howard's salary first to create more flexibility in trade scenarios in the free agent market, whether it's with a sign-in trade with Paul Millsap or to take back other contracts to get future assets, that's possible. With Charlotte, it helps shore up a rotation in the front court that they really needed to improve upon last season to get back in that playoff picture.
It's been disappointing for Charlotte last year. Major step back, Rohan, Rich Cho, Steve Clifford, both skating on thin ice. Michael Jordan is not afraid to get rid of a coach and a GM before, since he's owned the team. Do you think this could be a sign that he wants some new blood in his front office?
It's an interesting deal. It doesn't move the needle, I think, too much for me. Tyler Zeller, or Cody Zeller rather, has been a good player for the Hornets.
Yeah.
He got a big contract. What's annoying actually about this trade is every time Dwight Howard gets to a new team, you look at their point guard and you think, oh man, that pick and roll is going to be awesome. And then Dwight Howard just, after like 3 games, can't commit to it.
Yeah.
And it would be great again if him and Kemba could get along, but Dwight has to prove, and he's had to prove for the last few years of his career, that he can be a team player, that he won't demand touches in the post, that he can keep up his defensive focus even if he's not scoring on offense. And he hasn't done any of that. So I think for the Hornets, it's probably a worthy gamble. They're not giving up a ton in this trade, but at the same time, Dwight just has not proven that he can be that role player for anyone yet. And I think Steve Clifford and Rich Cho, if you're looking at head coach GM combinations, that's one of the strongest ones in the league. They had to step back from guys like Nick Batum and Marvin Williams last year after giving them big contracts, and I don't know if you could put that on the coach. So it's unfortunate for Charlotte, but I don't see Dwight moving the needle.
Yeah, you mentioned interesting about those big contracts. And listen, I'm not in favor of the owners getting the money. You should spend it on the players.
Absolutely.
But Charlotte is in a let's call it a quagmire, shall we? I mean, their financial situation looks bad. Nick Batum is making almost as much money as LeBron James.
Yeah, it's very tough for them right now. If those guys have a bounce back year, I mean, they're with Clifford and their defense could be great. They'd really just need their guys to play they were, 2 years ago, and they could be in a better position.
Okay, I think we've talked enough about Charlotte. They're basically mediocre until further notice. Meanwhile, the Clippers face an uncertain future with the prospect of both Chris Paul and Blake Griffin leaving in free agency. And now LA is reportedly exploring the trade market for All-NBA center DeAndre Jordan. And let's notice that Jerry West has been there for how long? 5 seconds, and already DeAndre Jordan's being floated. So what does it indicate to you, Jake, about where the team may be heading?
I think those talks were strictly preliminary, but it makes sense. If you're facing an offseason where potentially Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and JJ Redick, all 3 could leave in free agency, at that point, if you're only left with DeAndre Jordan, you have to at least be prepared for scenarios where you can move him to get off that money that he signed recently when he obviously spurned the Mavericks to go back to LA to get some more assets and get some younger players back in LA to kind of start the youth movement.
So this is obviously hilarious. Just 2 years ago, after they basically held him hostage in his own home to re-sign him.
I think they're regretting that.
Yeah, honestly.
Well, he was an All-NBA center.
I get it,
and
but
an All-Star last
I know,
year.
and this is maybe a little personal bias coming in because I'm just not a huge DeAndre Jordan fan. The fact that you can't have someone who's supposed to be one of your centerpieces, if you will, of a team, not be able to be on the floor at the end of the game, I think signals a really big red flag. Plus, if you're going to try to beat the Warriors, he doesn't help you.
I will say, I think this trade works on both levels. Jake mentioned all the reasons. If all their guys leave in free agency, they kind of need to restock the cover. DeAndre can get him, maybe a draft pick or a younger player. At the same time, even if, let's say, one of Blake or Chris Paul comes back, or they both come back, the formula has proven that it's not going to beat the Warriors, right? I mean, you mentioned it yourself. Either way, they can trade DeAndre. This is such a thin, top-heavy team. I think trading DeAndre, whether it's to get young players or even just 2 role players who can help this team, I think it's a smarter move for them. So I think it's a good move for Los Angeles either way, whether it's, kind of actually having complementary players to their core or rebuilding for the future.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and also the bench for the Clippers has been a sore spot and a lacking spot for them for a while. I don't think we're going to see any of those like chairs shoved against the door, like Blake Griffin tweeted a couple of years ago, not letting DeAndre Jordan leave. Meanwhile, Jimmy Butler reportedly hopes to stay with the Bulls. Easy question, Jake. Does this surprise you?
No, because at the end of the day, with this new CBA, once he hits free agency again, they can offer him that mega max where he can get upwards of $50 million more with Chicago than any other team. It's the reason why DeMarcus Cousins originally was a little peeved that he got moved to the Pelicans, because he lost potentially millions and millions of dollars that could have helped his family for 3 generations. So that's the reason why Jimmy Butler most likely wants to stay in Chicago.
Yeah, I obviously don't blame Jimmy for chasing that mega max. I am a little surprised in the sense that Chicago has just been a mess for a few years now. I mean, he's been on the block, then he's been off the block. They gave Dwayne Wade. I love Dwayne Wade. That's my guy. They gave him all this money.
Do you have 24 million reasons to love Dwayne Wade?
Yeah, exactly. I do.
23.8.
Yeah, so
sorry, didn't mean to shortchange him on that other 200 grand.
They don't know what to do with Rondo now. I mean, Chicago's just been such a mess. I mean, is Hoiberg the right coach? I don't think Butler really likes him. So, in that sense, I'm a little surprised. I mean, why would you want to put up with all this when I guess with the potential to make that much money, you probably put up with anything. So I don't blame Jimmy Butler, but I'm a little surprised that maybe he just doesn't want to get away from all the drama.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised too that someone hasn't made between like Boston and Cleveland, that someone's not making like a real play to try to get him. That's a little bit shocking to me too. All right, we're going to do a little speed round here. I'm going to give you guys a player and you tell me whether they are undervalued or whether they're being overvalued by the league. We touched on it earlier in the show, but let's talk about Deangelo Russell. Is he being undervalued or overvalued by the NBA?
I think he's probably being a little bit undervalued. He's close to being perfectly right valued, I think. But, you know, I think the trade that the Nets made for him is a great trade for them. I like that deal for both sides, but a little bit undervalued.
I'd say that as well. The Lakers were hoping to get a late lottery pick in exchange for Russell, and obviously they didn't get that. He was the number 2 pick 2 years ago, so it's a pretty quick depreciation.
Okay, what about Dwight Howard, Jake? Undervalued, overvalued?
As sad as it is, I think it's properly valued. I don't think he was worth any very few much more, whatever the terminology is. I don't think he was worth a lot more than what the Hornets gave up for him.
So he's perfectly valued at where he is.
We'll see if the 3-point shooting in the offseason actually helps.
Oh, gosh.
I'll throw him at overvalued just because of his contract and the fact that the fact that anyone actually traded for him. So overvalued.
Well, the fact is you're paying for past instead of future. I mean, he's going on reputation at this point. Okay, Timofey Mozgov's contract, is it overvalued or undervalued?
I got a lot back for the Lakers. I mean, they were able to get Brook Lopez in the 27th pick. Obviously, Deandre Russell was attached to it, but the fact that you can cash that in for a potential young player in a deep draft, who knows what you're going to be able to get back at 27 or 20? Yeah, 27's the pick. They also have 28, but you never know what that player can turn into. And plus, Brook Lopez, now that he can shoot threes, we joked about it with Howard, but he's a legitimate 3-point shooter. He can space the floor and pick and pops with a potential Lonzo Ball pairing, and that spacing will provide a lot of opportunities for young players like Brandon Ingram and Lonzo to develop.
All right.
This one's hard. I'm gonna say a little bit undervalued. I don't know. This one's hard. Maybe he is a good veteran presence for the Nets. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I think he was fine in New York, right? I think maybe he'll like being back in this area. And finally, Paul George. Undervalued over. This is a little bit of some of the trade rumors about him that maybe he'd be on the table for a Jordan Clarkson, Julius Randle, and a pick. Obviously, the Kevin Love for Paul George straight swap has been out there on the internet. Overvalued, undervalued. How's the NBA looking at Paul George?
I think he is maybe the tiniest bit undervalued. He's a great two-way player. You know, you remember a couple years ago when the Pacers had that extremely hot start to the season, and he was being looked at as an MVP candidate maybe the first 3 months of the season. His numbers last season were comparable to that year. I mean, he was just every bit as good. Obviously, you know, you had Russ, Harden, all those guys kind of overtaking the MVP conversation. But I think George is the slightest bit undervalued. I mean, he had a tough postseason this year, but I think he's going to be a huge difference maker for any team he joins.
In terms of trade value, he's definitely undervalued because the Pacers have no leverage. Rohan wrote about this on the crossover the second the news broke that he was going to be on his way to LA once he hits free agency. So the fact that the Lakers' best offer as of yesterday for Paul George was Jordan Clarkson, Julius Randle, and the 27th and 28th overall picks for a guy who's a potential top 15 player in the NBA, top 10 maybe, that's a big undervalue.
All right, we've gone about 16 minutes. People out there watching on Facebook Live, we're finally getting to the New York Knicks. Knicks fans lost their collective minds yesterday when reports surfaced that Phil Jackson had not ruled out trading away Kristaps Porzingis. So here at SI, hypothetical trades really flooding the office. Leading the charge is our resident trade machine guru, Alex Hampel. In real life, you run the news video division here at SI, but we know you for all of your trades and using that trade machine. So you have a few Kristaps Porzingis fake trades that you're going to give us, and we'll tell you whether or not we like them.
That's right. I have 5 fake trades here. For the record, I don't think that the Knicks should trade Porzingis, but it seems like they maybe could use a little bit of help. So we're going to send them a couple of suggestions here.
Okay.
So guys, fake trade number 1. The Boston Celtics get Kristaps Porzingis, and the Knicks get the 3 overall pick in this year's draft, next year's Nets pick, which is totally unprotected, and Marcus Smart. Who says no?
All right, let's put it up there on the board. You guys can read it, digest it out there on Facebook Live. Rohan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to ruin the segment and tell you I'm going to say no to every single one of these. The Knicks should not be doing this, and I'll tell you why they shouldn't do this trade. I think if Porzingis was in this draft...
Wait, that says Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
That's
one
different.
of the two, yeah.
Is that
Jaylen
a difference
Brown,
maker?
Jaylen Brown's pretty intriguing.
I just think if Porzingis was in this draft, he would be going number 1. He'd be going number 1, and I just don't think you should trade him, who looks like a surefire star, for something uncertain at this point. I do agree Jaylen Brown can be a very good, if not great player. I don't think he has the same ceiling as Porzingis. I mean, if you were building someone in a lab, 7'3", can shoot threes, handle the ball, I mean, is that not the player you'd want in today's NBA? So I don't think that's a good trade for the Knicks.
Listen, I'm all for the Marcus Smart full-time starting point guard in Madison Square Garden experience, but that's too much for the Celtics to give up, I think, in terms of assets, because you don't know what those picks can get you. We're talking about Paul George and Jimmy Butler. Those guys right now potentially could help that team compete more with the Cavs or the Warriors at this stage. Even though Porzingis probably has one of the top 3 brightest futures of any young player in the league, the Celtics are probably going to cash in those assets for a player that can help them more in the present.
Okay, smart, measured. Rohan, we're not going to let you ruin this segment. We're going to keep going with our hypotheticals here, our hypothetical trades. Alex, you care to rebuttal? Do you want to respond, or you want to move on to trade number 2?
I just think it's interesting. We have differing opinions here, but we'll just move on to trade number 2. We'll see if I can stump Rohan here. Trade number 2 is the Phoenix Suns get Kristaps Porzingis and Joakim Noah. So the Knicks get out of Noah's contract. The Knicks get Eric Bledsoe, Dragan Bender, and the number 4 pick in this year's draft.
So the Knicks are basically trading Porzingis for diet Kristaps Porzingis, Dragan Bender.
And number 4 and Bledsoe, though.
So Bledsoe's
and
a
they
good
get
player,
up
and they get rid of the
horrible contract.
I like this trade a little bit more for the Knicks than the last one. You know what's funny? I was at an event last night with Shaq and Alonzo Mourning, and Shaq
humble brag.
It was
not just me and them. It was not just me. It was
You're
me.
A small, intimate dinner.
It was me, thousands of American Express card holders, and Alonzo Mourning and Shaquille O'Neal. But Shaq kept bringing up Phil Jackson to the crowd, and they'd boo him every time. So I think I got the Knicks faithful with me on my side when I said I probably wouldn't do this trade either. But I think Eric Bledsoe, overvalued, undervalued. I think he's a great guard.
If he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy.
Shoots threes, plays both ends of the floor. So that's a much better effort from our guy Alex Hampel there. I like that trade a little bit more. I still don't think the Knicks should do it, only because, again, the 4 overall pick in this draft, I still don't think you're getting anyone better than Porzingis.
The Suns should definitely do that trade, by the way.
Yeah.
The Suns should. Well, also, we've seen what happens when, Phoenix Suns players get freed from Phoenix. They go on to be all-stars.
That Joakim Noah, Tyson Chandler front court would be legendary.
Ooh. All right, go ahead, Alex. Keep going.
All right, fake trade number 3. Jake, I know that you're plugged into Sixers world, so this involves the Sixers. Honestly, I have no idea who says no to this one or who even says yes, but let's try it out. The Sixers get Kristaps Porzingis. The Knicks get Ben Simmons and a future first-round pick.
I think that's a little too much to give up on the Sixers end. The Porzingis Simmons.
Rohan just almost had a stroke.
Because listen, they won't say it publicly, but the Sixers staff internally believes they have 2 top 8 players in the league in Simmons and Embiid. I don't know what they value Markelle Fultz at, but that's how they view Ben Simmons. That's all I'm going to say. So if you're giving up a potential, they probably view Porzingis in that tier as well, but I think to also throw in an extra pick is a little too much.
Yeah, if I'm the Sixers, I can't accept that trade fast enough. Simmons hasn't played an NBA game yet. listen, I like Ben Simmons. I think he's obviously has the potential to be a great player. I will say one of the concerns about him coming out of college, will he ever develop a jump shot?
Yeah, it's a big concern.
It's a big concern, especially when you're just looking at the way the game is going. I mean, people who can't shoot just get schemed out of playoff series. I mean, if the Sixers, the ultimate goal of the process is to build this juggernaut and one of your players can't really shoot well, that's a little concerning. Embiid, another, frankly, question mark to me. I mean, again, no doubt when he plays, he's an outstanding player, but more knee surgeries than months spent on an NBA basketball court. So I think that'd be a great trade for the Sixers. Again, for the Knicks, why just take on uncertainty when you have a star in your building?
Well, that's why they're fake trades.
Yes.
Okay, let's keep rolling by.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, play along. All right, give us more trades.
All right.
We didn't like that one.
This one's kind of the Godfather offer. You're talking adding a lot of assets here, Rohan. Maybe this will entice you.
Give me
I don't know.
this.
The Lakers get Porzingis and Carmelo Anthony. And the Knicks get Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle. They have to take Luol Deng's contract, and they get the number 2 overall pick. So you're talking maybe Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and the number 8 pick is the core for your Knicks.
Wow.
You know what? Hample, you've outdone yourself, my good friend. I like this Porzingis trade a lot for the Knicks. I mean, Ingram, I think, has a lot of potential. He didn't get to do a ton last year. I like what I think Ingram. Randall can be a solid role player on a good team. You get Lonzo, you can maybe get Malik Monk, too, or someone like that at number 8. You get rid of Melo, who's not been happy for years now, it would seem. If that was a real offer, I think that would be a great trade for the Knicks if you're actually getting rid of Porzingis.
Especially because with this riff with Phil, and now Kristaps and Carmelo can be safe together.
Yes.
They can get out of jail free as buddies here. I'm a big fan of Brandon Ingram as well, and the thing that's not mentioned there is also the Knicks get to keep the number 8 pick in that draft too. So a team that's strapped of. They gave up basically all of their picks to get Andrea Bargnani and Carmelo. Now they can add Ingram, Randall, the number 2 pick in this draft, and the number 8 pick in this draft, which is, again, a loaded draft. That's a great deal.
Also, shout out Luol Deng. I love Luol Deng.
Can I throw a curveball into this, though?
Please do.
Do we know what the relationship status is of Jenny Buss and Phil? They may not be wanting to make any trades whatsoever. Are they on speaking terms? She's reportedly dating Jay Moore now.
What?
I know. Are you guys not plugged into this?
I think they had a pretty civil breakup. I think it was like, it's not working out. Hey, I agree. We should just kind of...
Yeah, you hope by the time you get to be 70 years old that maybe you can finally have an amicable split. Yeah? Maybe? All right, we like that one, Hample. We think this was the trade, I think.
That's the trade?
I think you got that one, but for just,
then you can start your big 3 in LA with Paul George, and then they're back to superstardom.
Paul George, Carmelo, both CAA guys, right?
Yeah.
The Lakers going all in
next
on
level. Both Nike guys, too. As we saw with Golden State, that matters. All right, give us your final one here. I don't know if this number 4 is going to be topped, but go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. Number 4 might have been it, but trade number 5, the Portland Trailblazers get Kristaps Porzingis. The Knicks get C.J. McCollum, the 15th pick in this year's draft, and the 20th pick in this year's draft.
You forgot Joakim Noah, too. Also goes to Portland.
And the Knicks get out of Noah's contract. That is true.
Yeah, because McCollum just signed that huge $100 million extension. You got to match salaries.
No, I don't like this one because I think McCollum's gonna. I think he's a great player. I just don't know if he can be your star. I think he can be a great second or third guy just because his defense is still a little bit lacking. 15 and 20, it's just. I mean, I know I've been going on and on about uncertainties at this point, but 15 and 20 are real kind of just throwing darts at with the blindfold on at this point. So I wouldn't make that trade. I'd get the Lakers back on the phone.
Go back to it one more time, directly into the war room. I like you guys commenting here on Facebook Live. The only thing is about this game is you can't just say trade Porzingis to the Spurs. You got to have something that they would give back. You realize how this is played, right, guys? Okay. Keep them coming, though. It's been a lot of fun watching your comments on Facebook Live. Hample, which one of your prospective trades did you like the most? We obviously like the Lakers.
I like the Celtics trade. It's a ton of assets. I don't know why everyone hates it, especially if you can swap in Jaylen Brown there, but you're building with someone like maybe Josh Jackson. You have a shot at a top 3 pick next year with the Nets pick. You add maybe Malik Monk, a scorer. That's a nice little base.
Yeah, I don't know. Division rival? Tough.
The division rivals.
The Knicks aren't rivals with anyone.
In the NBA, though, because it's not like the NFL where you play your division rivals more. Obviously, the Eastern Conference, or by conference, you can play four games versus 3, but like it's not like you're competing for the division title really.
Listen, don't tell Amari Stoudemire that, who punched a fire extinguisher after playing the Celtics, right, and lost and broke his hand. Am I thinking about
that was the Heat? That was
never mind. I thought it was the Celtics, but he couldn't play against the Celtics.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh man, Alex, great job working that trade machine, man.
All
we'll
right,
see you
thank
back
you
in the
very much.
newsroom for 5 more fake Porzingis
All right,
trades.
sounds good. Rohan, say hi to Shaq and Alonzo for me.
Hey, it was a talk. I was sitting in the audience way in the back.
Sure.
I do want to say I was hanging out with Lonzo last night and no one gave me flack, so I got to give Rohan.
I'll say Rohan's had a good week. Jake, I think you've had a good week too, but Rohan not only rubbing elbows, going shopping with Anthony Davis, but also talking fashion with Dwayne Wade.
I was wearing this shirt when we went shopping, so it's my lucky. It's
Your lucky shirt.
It's my one TV shirt. So, yeah.
Very good, guys. Thank you so much, Jake, Rohan, Alex Hampel, making your debut here on SI Now. Really appreciated it, guys. Thanks. My next guest is the reigning SEC Player of the Year out of Kentucky. On Thursday night, he will be drafted into the NBA, and he'll be wearing his Tissot watch on his big night. Oh yeah, Malik Monk is here. We'll talk about Tissot in just a moment. I can see that watch looking pretty cool. Oh, yeah. You've been making your rounds, though, in terms of working out for NBA teams. Who gave you the best vibe?
The best vibe, probably Dallas or Orlando.
And how can you tell?
The questions they asked. They asked me what I like doing, and they just kept going like hunting and fishing. They asked what you hunt, what you fish. Then they asked where I'm from, asked about my family. I thought that stuck out to me.
Okay, they're really trying to get to know you.
For
We know
sure.
you went to dinner with Phil Jackson and worked out for the Knicks,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I'm just curious, what's a dinner with Phil Jackson like? I mean, Carmelo, Porzingis, does that come up? Does he tell you stories about coaching Michael Jordan and Kobe and Shaq? What do you guys talk about?
Phil is a unique person, but it was great meeting him and going to dinner with him. But he was talking. He just pop up out of nowhere and just tell stories. So he made me try some raw steak.
Steak tartare.
That's what it was. Yeah, he told me I tried it. It was good, and I ain't.
Not for you. No.
Nah, it's not for me.
No, you're more of a well-done kind of guy. Maybe a medium rare or
Medium
something
rare.
like that. You're 6'3"?
6'3", somewhere in there.
6'3", about almost 200 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe a little small for a prototypical shooting guard in the NBA. I hope I'm not offending you there.
No,
I
you're
think we're
not.
just saying
You're not.
what it is. What is going to be your position at the next level? Has any team told you you'll be a primary ball handler?
No, they really haven't. I'll be on and off the ball, probably like a combo guard. I can do whatever though.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with whatever.
Seems to be a lot of rivalries amongst these point guards.
It's a lot of
right?
a lot of rivalry. Yeah.
There's a lot of rivalries. Do you feel like you have a rivalry at shooting guard in this draft?
No, I don't think I do.
Do you start then comparing yourself to guys like De'Aaron Fox, your teammate from Kentucky, to Lonzo Ball, to Markelle? Do you go there and compare yourself to those guys?
No, I don't try to compare myself to anybody, but older, like more and more people in the league, like Lou Williams, C.J. McCollum, Westbrook a little bit, Devin Booker.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of shooting guard.
Well, we recently spent some time with your former teammate from Kentucky, De'Aaron Fox. We asked him to go back to your Sweet 16 game against UCLA, and we asked what his motivation was for that game. And here's what he had to say.
What was your mindset going into that?
Shut LeVar Ball up. Not the only reason, but there's a lot of reasons that I tried to have a big game. And last year, he just became somewhat relevant for some reason. He put a target on his neck, not his back. He got a target right here.
All right, that was your former teammate, De'Aaron Fox. Do you feel the same way going back into that game? Was the motivation to shut LeVar Ball up?
No, I knew Fox was gonna kill that game. I could tell in warm-ups and everything. He shot the first floater, made it. We kept giving him the ball, but my goal was just to win. I was trying to win, but that's what he does. That's what he wanted to do. I think he did a good job at it.
I mentioned that fantastic Tissot watch. You're getting ready for your draft night on Thursday. What are you going to be wearing?
Yeah, I'm wearing Tissot, the official timekeeper of the NBA, and they also give every first-round pick watches with the whatever team they get picked to, whatever color it's gonna be the color. But yeah, that's what I'm wearing. But I don't want to give y'all my suit color and anything like that, that might give it.
Might give it away.
Yeah.
Can I take a shot in the dark? Something blue?
I don't want to say anything. Point guard, John Wall. Shooting guard, Devin Booker. Small forward, Kid Gilchrist. My 4, Anthony Davis. And my 5, DeMarcus Cousins. 6-man, Bledsoe. Oh, hold on. Start over. Nah, I'm gonna keep the same order, but take Bledsoe off and put Carl.
Chael, you and Wanderlei Silva at the Garden, Bellator 180. This doesn't happen until June 24th. What's your mindset now? You didn't have to come back to the cage. You didn't come back to fight. You have a podcast. You have a broadcasting career. What keeps bringing you back?
Yeah, thanks. You know, this is the only game I know how to play, and I love it. And you know, if there was a day that I got too old or I suffered an injury and my athletic abilities just diminished, I'd go into the NFL. But as long as I can stay here, I could do quarterback. Yeah, I'd probably be a defensive end, quite frankly. If you really want to know, I'd be a defensive end. But as it comes to Wanderlei Silva, he is on limited time, and the next time I see Wanderlei, I will be fighting Wanderlei. They have not brought him to any press conferences. The last time I saw Wanderlei, I had to fight Wanderlei in the streets of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And I wasn't proud of it, but it happened, and it's going to happen on the 24th at the Garden.
Well, we haven't seen Silva because he's been banned from the sport for the last 3 years. He's had some issue with drug tests. You have also. Why could fans believe you guys are going to be clean for this?
Yeah, that's, the one thing that Wanderlei has that he gets points for with me is he's a little bit shady.
And you like that?
I don't have a big problem with it. I mean, listen, if you want to fight, let's fight. We'll get in there and we're going to mix it up.
What about the fans who don't know if you guys are going to actually make it to June 24th between injuries and drug tests and things like that?
And suspensions and jail and whatever else could happen.
Jail, hopefully not jail.
Yeah, hey, be a gambler, man. Be a gambler. I mean, what guarantees are there in life? I don't have any idea. I will do my part. I've never missed a fight due to illness or injury. It's not because I haven't been hurt. It's not because I haven't been sick. If I say I will show up, I will show up. I do not care for Wanderlei Silva, but I think that possibly it would be fair to say that about him too. I can't remember of a time that he's ever pulled out of a match. So I trust that he'll be here, but it's been a long time. He hasn't been in there in a while. I can tell you, I just had my first fight after a few years, and it's different.
Didn't go well for you.
No, you hear about those ring rusts and these different things, and I can tell you as an athlete, for me, I lived in denial of that. I thought, that's not going to happen to me, and I put my time in the gym, and I've done this plenty of times, but there's a real thing to that. There's a real thing about walking out there and competing and having that different speed, a speed that you don't see in sparring or in practice sessions. So now he's got to wear that a little bit, but I trust that he'll get through it.
Okay, so you feel like now after the comeback against Tito, didn't last very long, but just that limited amount means that you're now ready for this next fight?
Yeah, I felt like it helped. It's one of these things. You don't get better at something by not doing it. We'll see these athletes of all sports that retire. And they retired because they suck. They retire because they can't do it anymore. And then they want to come back after a while of not doing it. It's like, in what make-believe land should we believe that you're better now than when you admitted you sucked and your contract got cut? And as far as Tito went, I made Tito scream tap in less than 60 seconds. They didn't stop the fight. We continued. Fine. I will not make that same mistake with Wanderlei.
Okay, very interesting. We know a lot more now. You say that athletes who retire because they're just not good enough anymore. Obviously, the fight game, it's a little bit different. If you have a name, if you are a draw, odds are you can find a fight even very late in your career. But, Chael, we know a lot more now. We know a lot more about long-term health impact of some of these headshots that you're going to most likely be taking in this fight. With that in mind, is it more of a calculation for you, and is it harder math because you know that you could be doing some more long-term damage the older you get? I
think you bring up a fair point. I don't know a ton about that. I've seen some guys go through it, particularly in boxing, some guys that I looked up to and that I was a fan of. Some guys I never met. Sugar Ray Leonard, I've never met, but huge fan. And, to listen to him today and listen to him talk, you go, wow, there's something to that head injury thing. I haven't been through it. I don't know a lot about it, but I think that it's a real thing. I like that people are looking into it. I like the protections and the precautions that we take in the sport. But I also don't think you can deny, history. And there's been enough time. Again, I'm going back to boxing. We haven't really seen it in MMA. But the sports are similar, and the head blows that you speak of are similar, and it's something that I am conscious of. But you know, I want to do the sport as long as I can do it, but I do want to do it healthy, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
McGregor and Mayweather is going to happen. It's very hard to see a way that McGregor can win this fight. Can you?
Listen, this is the biggest story that we're all learning about ourselves. Apparently, the public does not respect the sport of boxing. If this was any other sport, take me, I'm a good, solid athlete. If I grabbed you and said, hey, I'm going to go play LeBron James one-on-one, and I'm going to beat him, you wouldn't be interested. If I go, oh, no, hold on, I'm going to sell at an arena, I'm going to do $1 billion of business, you could say you're crazy, and I would be. If I said, I'm going to go play Serena Williams in tennis, and I'm going to beat her, I'm going to go golf with Tiger Woods, a sport that I have never done, literally ever, but I'm a good, solid athlete. You'd laugh, but because it's boxing, apparently society doesn't respect boxing. You're taking Conor McGregor, who has never done the sport of professional boxing, versus a guy who has never lost at the sport of professional boxing, and people are giving Conor a chance. And what that tells us is they do not respect pugilists. And I don't know if they should. Look, if that fight goes more than 30 seconds, it's a black eye to boxing. If it gets out of 1 round, it embarrasses boxing. I think it will get more than 1 round.
Well, it may, just because Floyd is such a defensive fighter. I mean, styles make fights in not only mixed martial arts, but boxing as well. So could he survive a round? Possibly. Is he going to?
That's still bad for boxing. Listen, I'm a wrestler. You send anyone into our sport who's never done it before against David Taylor, the best guy we have, that you defensive that match is over in 30 seconds. And any other credible sport, nobody could go around because a guy's defensive. Look, he's either the best at it or he's not, and he's taking on a guy who's never done it. This is a pure win for Conor, and I say this as an MMA guy. In some ways, it's MMA versus boxing, but I'm going to let boxing know right now, you guys, pressure's on you. You got to stop this guy, and you got to stop him quick.
Chael, always great to talk with you. Thank you so much. Love the podcast. You're welcome with Chael Sonnen. And listen, good luck in your fight against Silva, June 24th, Madison Square Garden.
Appreciate that.
Love Chael, always brings a strong opinion. Well, if you want more NBA, tomorrow night, it's the Crossovers NBA Draft Show. We're going to be live at 7 p.m. Eastern up until the final pick of the first round. It's going to be myself, former Minnesota Timberwolves general manager David Kahn, former #1 overall pick Kwame Brown, many, many more right here on our set. We're going to be giving you all the picks, but also telling you what it means for your favorite team. So that's tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Of course, SI Now will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. The entire show will be a mock draft. You're not going to want to miss that. But until then, keep it locked to SI.com for all the latest news. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. See you tomorrow.